Hey everybody, welcome to Passionate About Music Education, and I'm Rachel Hardman. And I'm sure if you're like me, you will agree how important music education is, and it's so much more than just teaching an instrument or singing to our young people. Music and performing arts teaches life skills. And I know you're going to say, yeah, that's true, but it also, so does maths and so does English. Of course they do. But the one thing that music and drama really gives an opportunity for students is to work in different ways and to develop different skills. And for me, that's one of the most exciting parts about teaching performing arts. I think the fact that we teach so many life skills that they're going to need in the classroom, but then going on into real life, whether it's in their career or whether it's in a family and friends or planning their life, coping with life, the arts really do teach those skills. And so today I'm going to talk about teamwork, which is one of my favourite skills that I like to teach children. I talk about it all the time with them, about what we're doing and how it's developing teamwork skills and communication and collaboration, and how essential that is to learn this skill as a young person so that they can go off into life and be successful in any teamwork situation. And I know it works because I've seen my students really develop. So I had some IB students a few years ago, and they were working on a project. We were doing a big concert, and their task was to go away and put together a piece of music of their choice, because concert was going to be all about the history of pop music. And so they had the freedom to pick their own music, to rehearse, to bring in friends to fill out the missing parts that they need, the other instruments that they wanted. And they also brought in another friend who made a fantastic series of videos of them performing, not only in the concert, but also doing acoustic versions. And although they were amazingly successful at the performance and of course played really well, what was really inspiring was the amount of teamwork that they demonstrated and how they inspired other students. Of course, the younger students were like, I want to do that. I want to be like them. I want to do that. And they had to go through that process of learning teamwork and working to a deadline and all of that. So for me, that whole teamwork skill is so important. It's not just about music making. It's about educating students about life skills. To give you an idea of how I teach teamwork skills to middle school students, I'm going to just explain a task. So let's take film music. I like to do a composition task with my middle school students on leitmotifs, and I will put up 5 different characters that they have to create original leitmotifs for. So the villain, the damsel in distress, the hero, and they have to pick 3 out of the 5. They work in groups. Now, the grouping you can do any way you like, what works best for your students. So you might find that let them choose their own groups. You might choose the groups for them. You might have mixed ability groups. You might have half of boys, half of girls working together. So you get that sort of different dynamic. That's up to you, but put them in a group, and then the students have to work together using various instruments. So for this task, I'd allow them to use keyboards or untuned percussion, tuned percussion, their own instruments. I probably would let them use some technology if they wanted to create some technology sounds going on so that they could use it on GarageBand. So step 2 would be, once they're in their groups, they would need to do the 3 Ps, and that's plan, practice, and perform. And I would explain that in the planning stage, this is when they do a lot of discussing. They discuss who's going to play what instrument, which leitmotifs are going to do. How does it start? How does it end? Who starts? Who comes in? Do they all come in at the same time? Do they come in staggered? Do they use different instruments for different motifs? What are the dynamics they're going to use? What's the tempo? What's the pitch range? If you're doing the villain, for instance, you're probably going to want lower pitch rather than the high pitch. So it's that really thinking about what they're going to do. Then, of course, you get the practice, which is where they go away and practice their ideas and work on it, develop it. And as I say to students, what you come up in your plan might not work when you go to practice. So you go back to your plan and change it, and practice, plan, practice. You keep going back and forth. And then, of course, the outcome is to perform it for some, whether it's for an assessment or whether it's just to inspire other students in the classroom, or whether you put it in a concert. And I like to video or record their work so that they can hear what they've achieved, see what they've achieved, and then also, of course, self-reflect on what they can do to improve for next time. Students are very good at particularly middle school and high school students are particularly good at knowing what they did well and also knowing what they need to work on, and being able to visually see it, because when you're composing and performing, you're not really concentrating on what it all sounds like, and you're concentrating on your part. Then to be able to see it gives them a great way to reflect. I really like the fact that in this kind of topic, they're really having to learn to compromise and listen, and it takes time. So when you start this project, say for year 7, and you start doing composition, you find that they really struggle to do group work, compromise and listen to each other. But if you could do projects throughout the middle school program, you will find that by the time they get to year 9, they really have mastered that skill, and they come up with amazing ideas. And I always talk to them about, remember, the quietest person in your group might have the best ideas, so don't exclude anybody, because it's really important that you're learning from each other. I also love the fact it teaches them to work to a deadline. So you say from the beginning, you've got 3 lessons on this to practice it, and then you're going to be assessed, or you're going to perform your work, or I'm going to give you 15 minutes to practice today, and then you're going to show me work in progress. And by giving them some kind of structure, it also gives them ownership of their time. And sometimes they don't achieve. Sometimes they really don't get their practice and their plan sorted. And I talk to them about that. So I go, well, if you're not ready to perform, which part failed? Was it the planning or was it the practicing? And when you start looking at with the students why it didn't work, they're very good at understanding why it didn't work, so that they again learn. And this is like life skills that we need as adults, about teamwork, whether you work in a business and you're doing a big project, or whether you're doing a big pitch for a new company, whatever it is you're doing in the future, or they're going to do in the future, learning to work to a deadline, working to use their time effectively is really important. So this is a skill that I'm teaching them in music. And for me, of course, the joy that you see from the students when they perform, but particularly if they've got the planning and the practicing part right, because their performance will be right. And the joy on their face when it goes well, when other students say, that was amazing, oh, I really love that idea, oh, I'm going to borrow that idea next time, that's so cool, or I really love the way you used your own instrument in that topic, gives them a sense of pride and gives them a sense of achievement and well-being, and I'm enough and I'm good enough and I can do anything. And that's really important. And the flip side of that, of course, is sometimes it goes wrong, and that's fine too, because we always learn from our mistakes. We learn from when we make errors. So we talk about what was good, and how would you develop it if I gave you another 10-15 minutes? So I always say to the students, okay, so it might have gone perfect, and we're always on a tight time frame because music never really gets enough time. So I say to the students, okay, well, we've only had 2 lessons on this. So if I gave you another 30 minutes, if I gave you another hour, what would you do with that hour? How would you improve the work? What would you go away and fix? And then they understand that sometimes delivering in a time frame means it's not going to be perfect. They could still do more, and what would they do? And it's that thought process, well, if I had more time, I would go away and do this, but I've managed to meet the deadline. So encouraging students to think like that is a really great skill. So I hope this gives you some really great ideas about ways of teaching teamwork using composition, and also us really advocating for the value of music beyond just teaching instruments. And I love teaching instruments and singing, and I think that's so important. Life memories for students within school, with them performing for their parents, those memories that they'll have forever and ever. But I really think what gets missed in some of our conversations is the fact people so undervalue the arts and the life skills that we teach so much in our lessons every day. So I hope this has been really helpful. If you found this video useful, please of course subscribe to the channel, share the videos with your friends and colleagues, and of course like or comment, because your feedback helps me decide on what to talk about next time. I'm Rachel Hardman, hope it's been helpful, and this is Passionate About Music Education.